AI will improve the lives of Americans by complete complementing their work, not replacing it. Like, okay, how do they know this? People are already getting fired. Like today.
Yeah,
No, I mean, not that
that's
many yet, but like,
that's written by that's. I'm assuming a lot of this is written by tech bros in some way. Like yeah, David Sachs.
yeah,
David
exactly.
Sachs is a tech
I
bro.
think this is the work of the All In Podcast Bros. But the Trump White House put out an AI action plan on Wednesday, and I think it's worth discussing. AI is a very destabilizing force, and frankly, I don't think the next 10 years on Earth will look anything like the last 10 years. I know this channel is mostly about war and geopolitics, but I want to cover AI because it's going to have a huge impact on all the things I talk about. The AI action plan is a 28-page PDF that very broadly talks about the White House's intentions when it comes to handling AI. It's a good document overall, but I think it lacks imagination and some of it contradicts Trump's current policy pursuits. So we're going to go through it, and I invited one of my friends, Bernard, to go through it with me. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to AI stuff, so I thought it was appropriate. So let's get to it. Yeah, July 2025. And here we have a few words from Trump. Today, a new frontier of scientific discovery. Bro, you know Trump didn't write this, bro. Why are they lying like this?
Yeah, you didn't even read it in The Voice. No way Trump wrote that.
Yeah, you can't read it in the voice because he doesn't speak like that. Today, a
Nah.
new frontier of scientific discovery lies before us, defined by transformative technologies as a
Artificial
what?
intelligent. No, it's not his.
Yeah,
He could speak it, but it's not an off the cuff Trumpism.
yeah.
Somebody definitely wrote that
There's not
for
like
him.
random capitalizations. Like global would have been like a cap, like all caps.
There's no reference to China.
Yeah, no China, whatever. Yeah, this is not Trump. This
Yeah.
is so off rip. We just have a straight lie, right?
Listen, if it was Trump, he'd say everything is computer, and that's the truth.
True. So we have a auto pen thing here. What is it? He's getting on Biden about auto pen. This is auto pen right here, right?
Speech writers,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah. It's Donald J. Trump. You know damn well he didn't say that. All right, let's go. All right. Um, it says just like we won the space race, it is imperative that the United States and its allies win this race. And I made a note here. I was thinking, do we actually want to make it an official race? Because that's what this is doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, what else would you call it? I mean, China's going full steam ahead. I'd have to pull up all the news clips and stuff like that. But I don't know how heavily the CCP is involved. For the most part, it seems like it's just a bunch of labs, though I'm sure they are. They might be helping smuggle in or train on sanctioned or now no longer sanctioned hardware. But I don't know if he started calling it a race, but other people were.
Right. I know other people are. I don't know if this is something you want to make official. Because I feel like once you make it official, like you're setting yourself in a position to where like this could just be a side project for the Chinese. They're like, okay, we're gonna do some AI as like a side project, but like you making this official is like you're bringing it to their full attention now. When it could have just stayed as a side project that they're working on.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of are behind in compute. I know there was the sanctions released, but there's still just so much demand for GPUs. There's just not enough compute coming out. But yeah, they're doing really well for open source. Probably what they're behind. I think they're definitely behind OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic. But the open source models are really good. I think what was it? Qwen just released a new. We haven't heard anything
Yeah,
from DeepSeek
we
in a
went back to back. So it was Kimmy K2 and then Quinn. Just it was back to
Yeah,
back. Yeah,
and Quen tops in some ways. So Kimmy's really good for agent tool calling, which
yeah.
is kind of what Grok's good at. Grok is heavily trained on tool use and is supposed to be. It's actually pretty decent at it, even if it's slow. But Kimmy's really good as an agent.
My thing with the I know we're getting off topic now. But my thing with
Well, I'll
the
bring it back. I promise.
yeah. My thing with the Chinese, are they actually doing this open source run out of the goodness of their hearts? Or is it to just murder US companies? Because these guys basically killed Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg is now in a scramble because Zuckerberg was leading in the open source models with Llama.
Yeah,
Eh,
anything before Llama 4, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, they were okay until China came out, but
yeah,
I assume so. I don't think OpenAI or any of those guys are ever gonna. It's just a question of if the Chinese companies, it could be. I don't know because the original DeepSeek was released um, open source to just because it was a side project. It was no, sorry, it was marketed as a side project. It really wasn't. It's from like a quant hedge fund firm.
yeah.
They branched out into doing AI, so it wasn't a side project. They spent a lot of time on it, but that's how they marketed it. But definitely out of their normal scope. But it's one of those things where maybe because the whole point of open source is that you get people to build on top of it and improve your stuff faster than you could. So it's in some way catching up. They still don't have the best people, but they're able to crowdsource some extra help and extra information. And then with open source, the one benefit is you get like not everyone's going to run it. Like DeepSeek is up there in terms of Apple Store downloads, right?
Yeah.
But with how many people are going to have to run like a full Kimmy, you need like probably $500,000 in H100s. I'm not sure. Like you need a whole cluster, which gets rented out at you know not insignificant amount dollars per hour. So there's not a lot of people who can actually run these models. Like you have some open source providers like Hugging Face or the OpenRouter, and those guys do have compute, and then they'll service it if they can. But most people aren't going to be running it. So in some ways, I guess it's a flex. Like to take out Zuckerberg, but I'm gonna be honest, Llama was never good. It was always lagging behind, and then Llama 4 was a complete disaster because they basically what they did is they trained it on the benchmarks. So they trained it on the test data,
Yeah.
and it's not helpful. So I don't think it's definitely not out of the goodness of their heart, but I think it's just I don't know, to be different, to get to get as much information and knowledge applied to their own models as you can. Because, if it's open source, you have to release it open source if you're going to do anything commercial with it. So they can just take that and build off of it. So my guess is that's a way to try to get as much intel as they can, or basically as much help as they can, and much, distributed, basically crowdsourcing for improvements.
Yeah, it makes sense. We'll see though. We'll see.
Exactly. There's not enough information, I don't think, at this point.
But
I
maybe,
think
maybe, maybe they're like, maybe they really have that spirit and they're like, we're just gonna do it all open. Bec-
I
like
mean, that's
maybe it's
communism,
like
right?
a counterculture to the communism, right?
Well, communism is, it's all free. So, I don't think it's at that at all, but it is in the spirit of communism that they're just going to release it to the masses. There's money to be made there, and they're making tons of money because you still have to, pay for a subscription to use their compute, and you just charge on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think it's great
But anyway,
marketing for them too.
100%. And because I think the other thing is nobody in the West would trust a Chinese model that wasn't open source. I think that's the other big thing,
Oh,
and
that
that's
is
a very
correct,
valid
actually.
concern.
All right, let's continue so we don't get way off track. All right, so I highlight this. Winning the AI race will usher in a new golden age of human flourishing, economic competitiveness, and national security for the American people. AI will enable Americans to discover new materials, synthesize new chemicals. Like, this is the direction they want to go in. An industrial revolution, they say. So it's industrial revolution and an information revolution. But
which makes sense. Go
my
ahead.
issue was they didn't touch on, like, this doesn't touch on any of the downsides. It's all like they very seldomly touch like, hey, this might be bad, and this is what we're going to try to do to. Yeah,
Politics. They're never going to release they're never going to release a warning statement unless they're anti against it, right? And then you bring up all the downsides.
this part, the industrial we're still on the first pages. All right, we could go
We'll
a
get
little
through
bit
it. I
faster.
promise I'll stop yapping.
Yeah, we could go a little bit faster. So my issue with this, it was like an industrial revolution, and it doesn't talk about any of the downsides, because the industrial revolution took away, like, there was negative effect, like huge consequences to the industrial revolution. Like, we lost our children. We don't have that many kids anymore.
Yep. Less
Because
of
of
them
the
die,
industrial
but
revolution.
yeah.
Yeah. So like there are things we don't know what we're gonna lose with the AI revolution.
No, but I think it's one of those things that you have to move forward. Last tangent, I promise, but there's a great book called The Victory of Reason, basically talking about why capitalism succeeded where it did, and it talked about what Spain did versus what England did. Is the one anecdote about the time that they fought each other, and you had the Spanish Armada, if you remember your
Uh-huh.
history. Basically, England embraced capitalism, and they ended up being like the main hub for refined goods in the entire area, and just succeeded. They blew up. Like, that was the start of their empire, was capitalism. They started accepting that and moving forward. Spain was stuck in the medieval culture, medieval ruling philosophy, and Catholicism, where you had the Protestant work ethic in England. And so everything was serfdom. So Spain ended up conquering most of Europe and vassalizing it or subjugating it in some way. But the only way for you to move up in the world was in the army, and they banned a lot of that merchant class and the capitalism. So they ended up exporting raw goods and importing finished goods. And the only reason they were succeeding, the only reason they were afloat was because they, extracted gold from South America. Like, they sailed, the Spanish Armada sailed to fight the English Navy in that famous battle along in the Channel in that
Uh-huh.
area without cannons. So you kind of have to, if the last industrial revolution kind of shows anything, you have to move forward, otherwise you're going to be stuck.
Oh, I agree 100%. But with this, I kind of want to play devil's advocate. So like, hey bro, like there are things that you're not talking about here. Even though like maybe I broadly agree with like the point that they're trying to make. Oh,
Oh yeah, no, they're glossing over so much stuff, but
yeah.
partially because nobody knows.
Yeah.
We can speculate and we have some ideas, but we really don't know how it's going to shake out. But all right, our three pillars: innovation, infrastructure, and international diplomacy and security.
So
All right.
they're moving on three pillars. We need to build vast AI infrastructure and the energy to power it. We're talking about that on Discord for like 2 seconds.
They talk about needing more energy, and then they tax all alternate forms of energy in the Big Beautiful Bill. They make it harder to do geothermal, or they even nuclear. Like, you could say like, oh, solar is a problem or whatever. And Biscuit was like, Biscuit, red pilled a lot of people on that. But yeah, no, they tax all the other forms of energy besides oil and gas and coal in the omnibus bill that they just passed. So they're,
I think hydroelectric is still fine, but like how
I
much
don't
of
know.
that are we doing? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, like, you have a few dams. I know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Washington, like, I think it's a good chunk of their power comes out of like the Grand Coulee Dam and some of those dams that are up here.
yeah. But you can't start
Um,
building dams everywhere. Like this is just not.
right. But still, right. They're taxing all alternate forms
Yeah,
of energy, including fusion, like, or fission and fusion. They're making it much harder to do that. So they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth here.
yeah. So that I highlighted that because it was confusing to me. Like, okay, like what are you like? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Yeah,
Um,
maybe they pass a new bill, but if they said, yeah, okay, they don't say the big beautiful bill in here because it does tax it.
yeah. The AI infrastructure bill I will create high-paying jobs for American workers. Again, how do they know this?
I assume they're talking about like electricians, more AI researchers, but that's neither either that's a thing. But I'm sure they're talking about some sort of like electrician or specialized technical job, which maybe, but I'm pretty sure that's just Trump talking. Trump being populist and all that.
If that's what they're referring to, then this is right. If they're referring to like electricians or HVAC workers or something.
Yeah, I assume there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of need for people to come out and do data center work, and that will not be taken over by robots in the short term.
Yeah.
So,
Listen.
yeah, I could. That's actually true. If they actually get this off the ground, that's true.
Yes. All right, we can move on. AI will improve the lives of Americans by complementing their work, not replacing it. Like, okay, how do they know this? People are already getting fired. Like today.
Yeah,
No, I mean, not that
that's
many yet, but like,
that's written by that's. I'm assuming a lot of this is written by tech bros in some way. Like, yeah, David Sachs.
yeah,
David
exactly.
Sachs is a tech
I
bro,
think this is the work of the All In Podcast Bros. But
but yeah, improve the lives, complement the work. Yeah, you're going to do a lot of layoffs. The whole future is going to be interesting. It's funny, white collar is probably going to be disrupted first, just because it's
until the
easy to
robots come
do.
in.
Yeah, and then you get into the whole post labor economy, and that's a whole thing. What's that guy, David Shapiro or something? I think actually has like a bunch of videos talking about what that might look like.
And
But
yeah, we're getting very like ahead. But what's one of the issues I had when I read this the first time? It doesn't talk about economics, the economics of all of this, how it's going to work at all.
I have no idea. I mean, the Trump team has no idea. They're a hammer, not a scalpel, and that's got problems.
So
But
yeah,
currently, it's complementing work. But currently, it's complementing a lot of work. I'm seeing a little bit of it being disrupted. A lot of lower level jobs are getting disrupted because a lot of those like junior or entry level into skilled work is you learning the process of how to do something. And right now, AI is really good at that. Like, you have first level lawyer, first year lawyers who are learning the basics or learning how to, find something and put together arguments. AI is really good at that. You can outsource a lot of that work, but that skill set. This is one of the things that with AI is going to be really hard because you have super specialized jobs that it can't do quite yet, but then it can do a lot of the entry level jobs. But to get your senior level people who have that experience and knowledge, you have to start them and train them on the lower level. So it's a whole thing. It's going to be really weird for a while.
yeah. It says here, our AI systems must be free of ideological bias and designed to pursue objective truth rather than social engineering agendas. This is good, but it's also like,
Yes,
what's the punishment?
exactly. And also, is objective truth what you believe, or is it the objective truth?
Yes,
Like Elon crushing out on X about how a bot is, checking fact, using Snopes as a fact checker, where
exactly.
sometimes sure, sometimes they don't get it right, or sometimes there's bias of the fact checker, right? That does happen, but all in all, things are generally pretty solid. But then, is objective truth what you believe, or is it the objective truth? And you just don't like when those two are different.
Yeah, so that part was like it set off a little bit of an alarm for me. It's like, yeah, I understand what you're trying to say, but what are you saying really? Because
We're going to get more mecha Hitler
yeah,
AI.
this is also the administration that's like, soon as they got caught up with the Epstein file stuff, they're like, oh, it was the Obama. Obama made it. Like, brother, it's
Exactly.
like, okay, what's the object? Like, it's all, like kind of crazy.
So you can, but you can't. Like in some ways, someone's always going to put out an open source model that lets you, I mean, Grok technically lets you, do a bioweapon, right? You've got Pliny jailbreaking every model and telling you how to make a bioweapon. And you could find that information, but you can get it from an AI. But it's one of those things that there's no good way to bring this out of the bottle because it's the nightmare of terrorism meets, cybersecurity hacking. Someone's always going to find a way in. I mean, Nintendo with the Switch, they have a software that reads the voltage of the chips that come through, the voltage of the chips in the board. And if, one of those is out of whack, like you trying to scan the board or use, trying to hack into it, it will brick the system. So misused or stolen, you can't really do that.
Yeah, and the issue for me is like, okay, what happened? What are you gonna do when they do it? Is it gonna be an act of war? Or are you gonna make it so that if you're stealing AI related stuff, that's an act of war? Well, like, how are you gonna enforce this?
Right. Or does it end up being something like nuclear weapons where everyone kind of realizes, hey, this is the end of the world. This is end of the world kind of stuff. We should chill out with it and kind of put that off the table. But that's one of those weird things where it's one of those weird things. Maybe in the future, if you get some sort of AI that can, super intelligence, you have, defense, blue team and red team, and maybe, but in some ways, I would not be surprised if countries in general end up agreeing that AI sits in the table, like using AI like an AGI or ASI offensively ends up in the table of something like nuclear weapons because of the damage that it could do. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how diplomacy ends up working out. And you'll get, terrorist groups who try to do it, but you'll also have red team and blue team ASIs if we get to that level where, you have ASI in your pocket. I think that's a whole other discussion for where the world is a completely different place.
Yeah, for sure. And then we have the signatures here. Michael Crust. I don't know much about this guy, honestly.
I do not, but I saw Sachs on there, and
Yeah,
then Rubio
Sachs
is
and then
doing
Rubio. So, like, the
Rubio's
way.
doing 8 different jobs as normal.
So all of this is yeah, 8 different jobs. Assistant for national security affairs.
He's got 6 jobs, and he doesn't get tired.
Forget Kevin Gates with his 2 jobs. Oh, wait. Kevin Gates had 6 jobs, didn't he? Not 2. Okay,
Yeah,
never mind. He's on Kevin.
jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AI is far
So
too important to smother in bureaucracy at this early stage, whether at the state or federal level. Damn, I can't read either. I shouldn't have been drinking.
yeah, this is why. So basically, the context for that is they put out a bill that blocks any AI regulation for like 10 years, and that's fair. I think it's fair, but it's also not. But I could see people freaking out about it and trying to shut it down. So I understand why they did it. I think it's heavy-handed, which is on par for the Trump admin. But I think I understand why they did it. That like 10-year ban on, regulation. I think I get it. Yeah, that's about all I've got. I've got it, and I understand why. However, it does it does lower your ceiling, but it does raise the floor, if that makes sense. I'm sure some tech bro was worried about based after how Biden approached AI. that after Trump's 4 years, that somebody comes in and says, "Hey, we need to shut down AI. This is getting crazy. The people don't. Our voter base doesn't like it. We need to do something about it. We're going to hamper the growth." I could see some tech bro making that argument, which I think is fair based on the Biden admin. Maybe it's different. Biscuit would actually know much better about what the Democratic, platform and party is going to be doing over the next 4 years. But I can see it lowers your floor or lowers your ceiling for good and improvements and opens up some risk, but it does raise the floor and mean you're not going to lose to just partisan politics.
Yeah, and did I write a note here? Yeah, there are unforeseen consequences to what's happening here. So it says AI is far too important to smother in bureaucracy. Sure, but there's also a flip side. It's also too important not to smother in bureaucracy.
Right. And the Trump admin is not nuanced and subtle enough to be able to navigate that really well.
Yeah.
So, given the options, given the hand that we're dealt, I don't think this is a bad idea. A bad idea from them.
Yeah.
Given the lack of skill, I should say.
I just think the next administration we pick to lead the United States has to be full of like genius level characters, or like we're gonna be in some real trouble because the world's gonna be in a very interesting place, and you can't have you can't be led by people like that are like 70, 80. Like you can't.
You have to have people who are smart and on top of their game and not ideologues. We'll see what politics leads up to. I don't think you get them as president necessarily, but I do think you might get good advisors. I think the president and the legislative branch for the most part is going to end up being the same thing with people or exaggerated of the current, polarization, but you might get good advisors. We'll see.
But also the issue, I don't think they're seeing the threat to themselves. Because
oh god, no.
I think whatever people consider AGI, whatever definition people have for it, because everybody has their own definitions, it's gonna happen during Trump's term. Period.
Yeah. I can see that. I think we're already there informationally, but
I think we're there.
I think we're there I think we're there in capability, but not in length. Currently, we've got AGI with the memory of a goldfish. The two biggest things you need are context and basically not falling apart after a long time, which we'll get there. It's 100% we'll get there. I think those are the two biggest things. The vending machine benchmark is a great example of this, how eventually a lot of models currently degrade. They're going to get better. But that's our benchmark. Informationally, we are 100% at AGI. It's the ability to have long-term strategy and context, because Google can ship 1 million token context. Kimi K2 can do 2 million, but it's so expensive to offer that nobody can do it.
Yeah, I think Sam Altman said today on an interview with Theo Vaughn that GPT-5 is already smarter than all of us in this room. Is what he said.
I believe it.
For it.
I mean, 03 for the most part is if you get it past the sycophancy, the sycophancy and agreeing with you, which is my current biggest problem with LLMs. I was yapping to one of the Google product managers on the team, like, please stop having it agree with everything you say. That's such a bad idea. It's great for user retention and, new user metrics, but it's horrible to actually be useful. You have to turn it off at the system level. But we're there. It's just the matter of getting the AI to have a memory longer than a goldfish. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's skip through more.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Did you ever watch? You can go down to the next page. But did you ever? If you haven't watched it yet, you need to watch Person of Interest. It had Jim Caviezel, the dude from Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
But the concept was, literally exactly what we're dealing with now, where you have an AI, um, you have AI, ASI. The whole premise of the show is basically there's this, AI called the Machine that is basically black boxed and locked off from external influence, where it scans all the NSA feeds and all the cameras and everything. Like it goes through every security camera. It has phone call. Like it basically is informational god, and it spits out to this one guy or these two guys a social security number of somebody, and they go check that out, and something happens. Like that's the whole plot of the show. And then the big bad guy at the very in the final seasons is an ASI that is basically humans need not apply, and it arrests people for pre-crime and stuff like that. So
Oh,
that's
basically
the
like that
whole.
one movie. What you call it?
Yeah, like what's it? Shoot, I know what you're talking about though. The Bruce Willis movie. But yeah, basically it
Yeah.
starts arresting people for stuff that they say they're going to do, and it ends up being like a totalitarian state.
Yeah.
Um, that sort of thing. So it's a good show. It's a good show, but you should also watch it, especially those later seasons where it actually like you have those two AIs fighting with each other. It's actually really pertinent for today. I've been talking about it a few times on Twitter, but it's a older show, so nobody remembers it. But it's a good watch because it deals with some of the stuff.
Interesting.
Free speech and American values. I guess this is AI
Yeah.
systems will play a profound role in how we educate our children, do our jobs, and consume media. It is essential that these systems be built from the ground up with freedom of speech and expression in mind, and that the U.S. government policy does not interfere with that objective.
I don't. I think this is
Yeah,
fine. I think we just skim through a couple of these. Like,
yeah,
I don't think
that's
I'm
fine.
not.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's just
I don't have any contentions with that.
no. Update
Uh,
federal procurement guidelines to ensure government only contracts with frontier language model developers who ensure that their systems are objective and free from top down ideological bias.
yeah, we already
Sure.
spoke about this. How do you
Yeah.
How do you
How do you define
evaluate
that?
this?
But
Yeah, yeah.
that's fine. That's fine. I assume they're talking about woke, right? Where it says, if you open up a, they them GPT, and it asks you what your pronouns are in the first sentence. I assume avoiding that is fine. We don't need that, but we don't need hard right. We don't need Mecha Hitler. If we find a balance between the two, I think we're okay. Open source and open models are made freely available by developers for anyone in the world to download and modify. Models attributed this way have a unique value for innovation because startups can use them flexibly without being dependent on a closed model provider. Yes, this is written by a tech pro, 100%, and I respect whoever did this.
Yeah, this is good. I have no issues with
This is great.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, no notes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all our open source models are Chinese, but maybe we'll get there. Maybe I really do hope Zuck, with his spending billions of dollars on comp for Llama, I really hope they do spit out a model that's better than the Chinese. I hope so. They have the head of O3. It should be if you get an O3 model that's open source, I'm not going to complain.
I think
Even if
OpenAI said they're going to release an open source model.
they
I think
are, but
they
it's
pulled it last minute because they were having issues.
They pulled it last minute because of Kimi. That's
Well,
why.
I did hear some
No,
insider
they're-
information that it was like, no, they actually had an issue with it. But I don't know.
I believe it. The issue that they said was safety. However, that doesn't matter with an open source model because you can just retune the weight. So safety is not a problem. It's the fact that Kimi 2 K2 came out and probably was really good. It probably was as good or better than their model, and then they had to repull it. I saw some stuff from some people talking about how they had to repull it. So I expect it to come out, but I think Kimi K2 would have beaten it. So they're like, we can't release this, so we're gonna make it better.
Yeah.
Open source, great.
Yeah. Today's bottleneck to harnessing AI's full potential is not necessarily the availability of models, tools, or applications. Rather, it is a limited and slow adoption of AI.
No, it's compute. The bottleneck is compute, which is why open source makes sense. But yeah, the limit is literally having enough GPUs. Man, poor gamers, bro. They got one shot by missing all the GPUs for Bitcoin mining, and then now AI has come out, so no one can get GPUs for anything, which is hilarious. But yeah, that's a bottleneck. But there's not enough compute to harness all that demand. And yeah, what's the saying that I know? What's the go around? Basically, business startups are the first to use new stuff like new models and stuff like this. Then it's large companies, and then it's academia. Academia is always the last to pull this, but for the most part, we don't. Maybe hospitals are down there too, but we don't have compute for all this stuff yet. If we had compute, adoption would go much further. Though I have a buddy who works at one of the like exchange crypto exchanges, and they're incredible. Like he can't even use Cursor. He can't even use Cursor or anything like that. It's not approved, even though it's just a fork of VS Code. Um, he found a workaround with extension for VS Code, but a lot of these places are going to be slow because yeah, you've got some security risk, but also it's not a company supported application. So some of that'll happen, but we don't have enough demand. I mean, Cursor already cannot, or Anthropic cannot already keep up with their compute demand, and I don't think Nvidia's factories can make as much stuff or make enough. They can't make enough compute to meet or enough chips to meet all the demand.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Anyway,
need to
we,
hand
we could we
Nvidia
could keep
like
pushing. We could keep pushing
yeah,
because we could talk.
we need to hand Nvidia $10 billion and just tell them to set up new factories and train people. Just throw money at it. That's the only thing you can do at this point. Though
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, we just need to keep pushing.
Empower workers.
We're never gonna get
I
through
know.
it. All right, empower American workers in the age of AI. Right. I also had issues with this because it's talking about like a advanced artificial education for American youth, preparing American for a trade jobs of the future. What are we talking about? What are they talking about?
Don't. I assume it's like some sort of AI tutors, like we were talking about in Discord at one point. But high skilled, I assume they're gonna. I assume they're guessing that blue like trade jobs are gonna take off because white collar is going to be disrupted by AI, which I see it.
It's
But
like knowing which jobs. It's,
exactly right.
this is, and then the last part here: rapidly retrain and help workers thrive in an AI driven. Like, I rapidly retrain them to do which? How do you know if this is going to happen really fast, right? And they want it to happen really fast. They want to win the race against China. How do you know what job is going to exist? What are you retraining for? Let's say you retrain a guy to be a networking guy, and then maybe networking is obsolete now. Something is different. Like, and then it's like, okay, well, where does he go now?
Right. Are they going to be truck drivers when
again?
self-driving trucks?
Yeah.
Right. When self-driving trucks come around, it's one of those things, right? Like Cursor's already dealing a lot of damage to engineers. However, you still have to like know enough about what you need architected and how you want things built to have the AI do it. And like it's not as good in general as top engineers, but like it's still like what are you retraining to do? Yeah, exactly. What are you retraining to do?
Are people gonna retrain like 5 times because every time they got a new job and like they got replaced by AI? So like you're on you're on your 10th training fucking course now. And
exactly.
You're like, bro,
I
when
think it's
does
gonna
it
be
end?
one of those. Right. I think it's gonna be one of those things where potential example is like let's say you're a baker, you own a bakery, right? You may have robots working in the back, but then you have actual people out front, right? Helping to handle and because people want that human connection, even if you
Yeah.
have, all your baking is all automated in the back, right?
Yeah.
It may be one of those things. And it's going to be interesting. And I have no idea what's coming.
I don't know. We'll see, man. All right. Department. Yeah, I was also like Department of Education,
You're just getting
NSF,
rid of
and
it?
prioritize AI skilled. I thought they were dismantling the Department of Education.
I think they are, but for the moment, I guess it's still there. I don't know what NSF is, but Department of Corrections. So I guess you're going to get, inmates trained on ChatGPT. That should be interesting.
Like they're like, okay, we're gonna get rid of the Department of Education, but also like the Department of Education is going to help us
Exactly.
uh, uh prioritize AI skill
Maybe
and core objective of are they saying like, okay, now are they realizing the Department of Education was important now, or like like what's going
maybe
on here?
maybe it's a mistake, or maybe they like have info that it's actually not going to be able to get dismantled. That's going through. I think there's a court case that's gone it right now, but maybe they realize it's not happening, or it's just a mistake and inconsistency, which does happen. Issue guidance, Treasury issues guidance clarifying that AI literacy and AI skill don't may qualify as eligible education assistance. Okay, that's just like a tax thing.
Yeah, it's also
Basically,
like the Department of Education stuff again. It's like,
yeah.
okay,
Well,
like what are we doing?
that's
Like,
a no. That's actually a specific like
okay,
tax code thing. Basically, it's trying to say if you go in for if you take a
oh, that's his
class in
Department
how
of
to
Treasury.
use
My bad.
ChatGPT. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically saying if you use a class to learn about ChatGPT, that's tax. That falls under that tax. That tax section, so it's applicable. That's all it is. It's nothing special.
Yeah. All right, we can move on.
Yeah.
Leverage available discretionary funding where appropriate to fund rapid retraining for again. I'm just highlighting that same stuff all over again. Wait,
We
we
don't
already
know what
touched
we're
on this.
retraining
Yeah,
for
what are
yet.
we retraining for? Yeah, I don't know.
Shifting skill requirements or entry level roles. Yeah, no, I could. There is going to be a huge shift. I think a lot of college students are in trouble.
Yeah, that's for
In
sure.
right, because AI can do your job better, and there's a trade off you have that some businesses already are aware of, some aren't. But you're going to get a lot smaller. It's going to be problem because you need those junior role. You need that time in the junior chair where you're basically being a loss compared to using AI to actually build up your skills enough to be, someone senior and better at AI. But again, how long will that take?
Bro, for you to
How
be
long will that last,
senior, like
right?
that's probably like a 5-6 year process.
Right. And then
Yeah,
if
you're just
AI
not
is
gonna
better
get
than
there.
your senior
Yeah,
people at that point,
yeah,
what's happening, right?
yeah. It's just not gonna work, honestly.
God, Gen Z got cooked. You had COVID, and then the economy crashed. The economy going in the toilet right after that. Now
Yeah,
AI, bruh, Gen Z.
yeah,
I'm a Gen Z, but man, I feel for the college kids right now.
yeah. I heard there. I was speaking to some teachers. They're like, yeah, some kids basically now like they skipped the grade basically because of COVID. So like
So
some of
many.
them
My
don't. They're
mom's a
not at their
teacher.
reading level
Yeah,
even.
my mom's a teacher, and she said
Yeah.
there was a dramatic drop off in kids like learning ability and like skill level during COVID. Like COVID cooked so many Gen Alpha, like anyone who was in high school during COVID or middle school. Anyone middle high school or younger during COVID was just cooked. I feel so. There is going to be student loan forgiveness because of how bad that that what's effectively going to be a decade long period is for these guys. There's going to be student loan forgiveness. There's no way you can go to a private school for 90 grand and then you can't get a job in because of ASI. There's going to be student loan forgiveness. It's going to happen at this point. There's going to be a bill passed. You're going to have too many young people who are eating $1,000 $1,000 or $2,000 a month student loan repayments, and you just can't make that happen.
Yeah, and that's my issue with this like action plan. They're not tackling that. There's some really important infrastructure things and societal things and economic things that I think the government should solely be focused on. That they're just not real. But then that requires
Yeah.
actually thinking people that it's I don't know. Invest in automated cloud-enabled labs for a range of scientific fields. I think this is fine.
Yeah, it's just more science stuff, which is fair, which is exactly what you'd want.
Yeah,
Funded researchers, yeah.
yeah, this is fine.
Disclose
Like invest in
non-proprietary
AI.
non-sensitive data sets. Yeah. Yeah, basically saying, hey, basically, if you're a federally funded researcher, you're feeding your data to AI to help train it. That makes sense. That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Some people might be upset, but that's acceptable. Make recommendations on data quality standards is going to be interesting because that's already a big thing. Data cleaning is a huge part of AI training, and getting good results. One of the reasons Kimi, from what I've seen from the researchers on Twitter, is the reason Kimi's so good is they spent a ton of time on quality data rather than just feeding it AI trained data or AI or just bulk imports of data. They spend a lot of time data
Or
cleaning, and
like
it's one of the most
Grok
important.
and just Twitter slop.
Right, exactly. And it's one of the most important jobs in AI right now. It's actually one of the most important things that you could be doing. Uh, but a lot of these people are really smart and they don't find it intellectually stimulating because it's not, and it's super important still to do. That's why Kimi is so good right now. They one of the researchers was talking about how they like hand selected books and all sorts of stories and other stuff. That's why it's really good at writing and it has a really great writing style. Is they hand selected a lot of stuff, which is great.
Yeah, this is fine. Nothing wrong with this here.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
this was interesting. Explored the creation of a whole genome sequencing program for life on federal lands.
I assume that's animals. It's just
Yes.
more. It's more future DNA stuff, which makes sense. We're gonna get a lot more of it. Even during COVID, I was chatting with one of the few guys in the world who does like immunology. And last I heard, he left. He moved cross country to go work on a universal vaccine base
Yeah.
where you just swap out a few different proteins, and it will work against MMR or DTaP or the common cold, right? Where you just swap out a few proteins and stuff like that, where it makes it really easy. But he was talking about this, like, we're going to get there with, we already have gene therapies that are, you get an injection every month and it alters your DNA. We're going to get more of that. And I think it's good to do a lot of genome stuff. It's
Yeah.
not really AI, but it's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting, I guess.
I wouldn't be surprised if you and I could live till 140 unless we do something stupid.
Oh. But do you want to live that long? Is the issue?
If you have I assume you're going to have a good quality of life at that point. Like, there's going to be a lot of, I assume that at the rate we've already got what, GLP-1s, we've got follistatin therapies, we're going to have new non-androgenic or non-anabolic like drugs for muscle growth, like non-steroidal. Yeah, all this stuff's coming. And assuming we get ASI that can figure out, ways to improve telomeres and all this other stuff, yeah, that I could expect us to start living a lot longer.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
AI
I agree.
adoption,
But it's
yeah,
gonna be
accelerate.
like that one song. Push me to the edge. All my friends are dead.
Exactly. Um, accelerate AI adoption in government. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it sounded good
Government's
to
really
me.
slow. Government's really slow.
I,
Biden, I think
I
I
like
have to
how
check. I have to
I like
check
how
that.
he's always digging at Biden. Like I think multiple times throughout this, he's just there's just shots at Biden in here for some reason. I don't know why.
That's classically Trump.
Yeah,
Um,
I
yeah,
don't know.
that's not so. Yeah, I know Biden had
Let it
started
go.
working on some rules for AI. So, but he's got to dig at Biden. That's very Trumpian,
Yeah. Um.
which is funny. Government adding AI is not a bad thing. Doing what Doge wanted to do, but actually effectively, is a good thing.
Yeah, it is, but especially like you if you want to be ahead of the Chinese Communist Party, um,
Right.
you,
I think
you
that
want
the
to do
story
that.
goes that there's actually a bookshop in the Social Security office because people will just sit there and read. Like, there's just not enough to do. I think that's one of the stories that I'd seen from somebody who actually was there. Like, there's just a bookshop on in the office. So if we get AI in to help do a lot of work, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, for sure. What else? Combat synthetic media in the legal system. So it's talking about like deep fakes, and they're trying to figure out different ways to combat them.
Oh, good. That'll be
Which I thought was
ne-
fun.
yeah, that's necessary. Currently, you can kind of do it with like the pixels and how the videos are generated. You can see all that stuff. Like you could upload an AI generated image to like a checker and it checks it. Honestly, that's going to have to be built into Twitter at this point. Like if I were serious about this stuff, I would have just a scanner that checks any media that's uploaded to Twitter and puts a disclaimer that, hey, this is AI generated or likely AI generated. Please proceed, please proceed accordingly, and just have it be an auto pop up like you have those like Meta fact checker or fact checks or YouTube fact checks. It just that's the way you help solve that.
But since AI is so good at generating random data, could you make it so that it'll generate all the data to make it seem like a real video for you?
It would be a race, but AI, because of how AI works, everything's somewhat predictable. Like you can even put like if you type a paragraph into have ChatGPT put up an essay, you can throw that into like an essay checker. So I'm sure you could with an extremely niche, but then again, it's just going to be more. It's going to be just like cybersecurity, right? Like somebody improves it, somebody doesn't. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you're using a state of the art model to do all this, um, that's been public anywhere. You'd have to make the model yourself, but then you can find all those patterns. So the way to solve fake media, fake like deepfakes, is just on every tech platform you have a product man. You add it to your sprint of, hey, we need to add an AI checker for any media that uploads, and give it like 3 months, and you build it, and then you ship it, and that solves your problem. It's not necessarily at the government level that they fix that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this all pans
Yeah.
out. So pillar 2, build American AI infrastructure. So this is more talking about infrastructure stuff. I highlighted make federal lands available for data center construction and the construction of after what they've been through with that federal land stuff. Interesting they had this in here still.
I think the whole thing with the federal land was them trying to sell it, was them making it available to be sold off to just, developers and that sort of, people to buy it and actually build on it, which I think in like quite a few places is a mistake. It would be premium, beautiful land, but someone's going to buy it and throw a bunch of suburbs on it. I think it was a mistake. And
Well,
it
now someone's going to throw a
screamed
bunch of data
lobby.
centers on it.
A data center in the middle of, Nevada is different than buying prime real estate in the Olympic Peninsula, which, if you've never seen, is gorgeous. It's just gorgeous with lots of mountains. That sort of land was up for sale, like premium view land stuff. You would, if it was private, you'd pay tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars for. Putting a data center up in the middle of Nevada is totally different.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah. You're not putting a data center in the middle of the Olympic Mountains. They were selling land off that way, but
interesting. Okay.
yeah,
this was an alarm bell for me because I'm like, wait, didn't you guys just go through a bunch of stuff with federal land? I didn't pay much attention to it, but it did. Like, I was like,
no, it's different. Like a lot of the Western United States is federal land, and there's a lot of bumfuck nowhere places that a data center is actually probably a good thing because it means you have to have people there. So there's probably going to be some like local growth. That's a good thing for some of these places.
Okay. So develop a grid to match the pace of AI innovation. That's fine, but I didn't see any bills proposed to address this.
Right. The only bill we have on energy is one that taxes everything other than hydroelectric and gas and oil. Like what I guess we're just gonna drill, quote, drill baby drill, and get more oil.
Yeah, we're gonna drill our way into like getting
right.
like fixing the grid or something. I don't know. Like
one of my mutuals on Twitter posted a graph, and he was like, I know this graph keeps Dario, the head of Anthropic, up at night, and it's just U.S. versus Chinese power, electricity generation by gigawatts or whatever, and China around 2015 it just stood straight up, and the U.S. has stayed basically the same.
So to be honest with you, they should have probably proposed like a $2 trillion bill to just modernize the grid for the whole U.S. Like.
They should. They couldn't do that at the same time as pushing for government efficiency cuts because you've made your bed with Republicans. I expect that's going to come through under the next Democratic administration, and I won't be upset. Yeah, people are going to bitch about pork in the bill, but if there's a $2 trillion to increase the amount of power generation and per gigawatt that we have, then yeah, it's gonna be better.
And making it
If you
more
hit
like like how Europe, like you could France could sell power to Spain or whatever.
we can already kind of do that
I feel like
in a
we need to
little
do
way,
that
but we
better than we do now, I think.
yeah, I think we have multiple grids, and I think some of them are interchangeable. I know not a ton about like power generation. I know one of the big things is over a certain distance, you actually lose power just from the cables, but so that is a factor, but we need a lot more just general power generation in the US, and it shouldn't just be oil and gas.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I don't know
After the
why
back
is
and
this
forth,
so hard. Like places with a lot of sun, you can put solar panels. Places with a lot of sun, just put wind. Like it seems like this is so easy. I don't know. I don't know, man. Politics just makes everything such like a
yeah,
ideological thing. Like I don't know.
yeah.
Like
Honestly,
all the
one of the
sun in
best things.
Texas. Like brother, put up some damn solar panels.
Yeah, honestly, the best thing I've done recently is run. Anytime I run into something like the solar thing, because we had that discussion a while back, is just run a deep research report with O3
Yeah.
to pull up the latest data. Like oh shit, solar panels did get a lot better. Instead of leaking stuff, and batteries are getting there. They're not crazy, but they are kind of getting there.
Yeah, and this is restore American semiconductor manufacturing, which is great. Manufacture bring semiconductor manufacturing back to U.S. soil. I agree that okay, let's do it, but then like we're putting a bunch of tariffs on everything,
Yeah,
so all the
and
manufacturing inputs are getting tariffed. So like all the
so
cost of this whole thing is just going up. Like what are we doing?
the main the main manufacturing bottlenecks, there's 3 points. One is the silicon itself, which actually comes from North Carolina. So there was actually a bit. Remember that hurricane came through? There was actually a huge scare that it went over the mine and could have potentially ruined all of that silicon because it's perfect. Like that the I think it's quartz. The material they use in that mine is so pristine, and they were worried if it's flooded, it would if that mine had gotten flooded, it would have ruined that entire mine because the purity would have been gone.
Yeah,
Like if you like for Intel, you've got i9, i7, i5, i3.
yeah,
All Intel chips are made to the same standard. The only reason that they get binned lower, or basically cut down from like i9 to i5, is because of microscopic impurities that that turn off some of the chips in there. So if that had gotten flooded, you'd just be gone. But that's one of the bottlenecks. The other one is the lasers out of the laser, like the fabs, which come out of like Leica and Amsterdam and Germany, and they literally only make like two a year because they're so technically complex. Like these lenses, it took 100 years of Leica develop or 200 years of Leica developing their lens technology to be able to get them down to half the width of a human hair for these lasers, and then they make two or three a year, and they're always booked out, and they're $100 million machines. And then your third bottleneck is the talent, which comes from TSMC, right? They have their
Taiwan.
engineers, right? It's an engineering. You can train people. It takes a long time. It's incredibly hard, but you're still going to run into the bottleneck of congrats. Are you gonna spin up? Are you gonna speed run 100 years of Leica's lens development and talent and expertise to be able to produce the fabs here in the U.S. too? Or are you gonna pay them to increase the amount of open up a whole new line for each step in that process? It's the Chips Act was great. No complaints about the Chips Act. It's hopefully will help, but those are your three main bottlenecks,
Yeah,
and
and
that
I
is
think we could walk and chew gum. I think we could
I have faith in us.
try to bolster the current supply chain we have, and also try to build some of our own capacity.
Highlight that last line in that paragraph of the Trump it started the Trump administration.
Yeah.
That's where their ideology is showing, because one, they're like saying, hey, trade deficits are bad, which Trump, being a mercantilist, that's what he believes, and he's wrong. But we're saddling companies with sweeping, yeah, that's all nonsense. So that's all nonsense. That's all political nonsense, but that's their reasoning, which means they don't get it and they don't understand they don't understand what the actual problem is. So I don't expect them to actually do anything here
Yeah.
and make any improvements on the CHIPS Act. In fact, they'll probably make it harder with the tariffs.
Yeah. Yeah. The tariffs just make everything more difficult because the
Yeah,
inputs,
bro,
you're taxing the inputs.
Yeah.
It feels like, let's put like tariffs on all these tariffs only apply to finished products. Only finished goods. You'd be like, okay, maybe there's some thought put into this. No,
But no, it's raw goods too.
all the inputs, everything. It's like, bro, I don't know, man. This is just like a lot of like things that people are just not thinking through.
In a sense, I get it, but that's not the way you go about it. Like, I get it. Like, if you're expecting a potential hot war with China, which I'm not expecting or arguing for in any capacity, you know me better than that. If you believe that that's happening, then yeah, you'd try to move as much of your offshore, onshore. Combined with the COVID scare, I get this. I understand where this is coming from. However, there's a better way to go about it if you really believe it.
Exactly. I tell people, they're like, oh, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, brother, there's always multiple ways to do one thing.
Right. Like, I get it. Just like with everything in just-in-time manufacturing, COVID fucked that all up, and so everybody was in a panic, and I get it. But there's better ways to go about this exact process.
Oh boy. But
exactly.
Let's see. Yeah, bolster critical infrastructure cybersecurity. I have no issues with that. Like this is
no,
fine.
You're gonna get red team and blue team ASIs, and they're gonna try to improve it.
Yeah.
Get it in, you need it in, power. You need it in your critical, just day-to-day infrastructure. You need it protecting all of that stuff. You need it protecting Fortune 500 companies, bank info, government systems. Yeah, you need this everywhere. No notes.
Yeah. These cybersecurity AIs are gonna be like dog fights or whatever. Just watching dogs fight.
It's gonna be again. Watch it's spoilers for a 15-year-old show. Go watch literally in the end of that Person of Interest show. They have the two AIs fighting with each other and trying to take each other out. Cyber warfare. Like, one uploads itself to a satellite, and then the other launches a missile. Like, takes over and launches a missile at that satellite. Like, yeah,
that's fun.
It's wild. It's a good show. I spoiled it, but it's old. Deal with it. Go watch it anyway.
I've seen I've seen it around. I just never clicked on it. Promote security. I feel like all this stuff is good. Yeah. Export to American allies and partners. A failure to meet this demand would be an unforced error, causing these countries to turn to our rivals. Yeah, but how?
Exactly. Like, how? No one has enough compute. Europe is cooking itself because they're blocking everything AI, and they're going about it all wrong. Maybe they figure it out, but I guess you try to make them dependent on our labs, which
I get it.
It's already happening.
But it's like, yeah. You would do something like this out of the goodness of your heart. It's like, these are our allies. We'll give them out of the goodness of our hearts, not because it would be turning them into rivals. We already have AI. How are they going to catch up?
Right. The only you have the French Mistral model. That's it. Every other, Europe is the one blocking itself from AI and AI features. We're not blocking it. Like, they have to buy compute the same way as we do. Everything. Like, Europe is the one blocking themselves.
Yeah, once you have AGI, there's no more rivalry. You settle every beef right then and there. You're like, hey, bro, like, thanks for playing, bro. It's over
Yeah.
now. It's okay. Everything is okay now.
It's a question of whether you give it to ChatGPT, Claude, or Grok. Which one do you give the nuclear drones to?
Yeah, it's like Mega yeah.
Hitler, the one who wants to do the one who's been safety trained, or just ChatGPT? Who do you give it to?
Yeah, I think once you have everyone's definition of AGI, which is ASI, what the people that are still don't want to say we have AGI, their definition of AGI is ASI. That's what it is. It's not like
Yeah,
it's something that surpasses humans. That's what they want. That's what they want. AGI. That's what they mean by AGI. But at
right.
that
I
point,
just want my like Cortana. Like I want like a Halo AI. When I get that, I'm happy.
yeah, it's like having the nuclear bomb. It's like at that point, it's like okay, bro, like everyone's at checkmate now. It's fine.
Right.
Like there's no like, you don't have to beef with anyone anymore.
Yeah. Which total tangent, by the way, with because I've got the bourbon flowing. AI for Halo with they have the AI that goes rampant or whatever or goes crazy. That's exactly the same thing as current models like running out of context or their context degrading. It's really funny how they kind of predicted that in
Figured
some
it
way. It's
out.
really
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, bro. Like I said, I said it a while back. I feel like all the like sci-fi and cyberpunk stuff predicted all the future technology stuff.
They did it pretty well.
I feel like, yeah, for like every piece of new technology we have, like somebody already thought about it in some old cyberpunk book or like some old sci-fi book or whatever.
Yeah, what did I just watch? There's two Black Mirror episodes that are really pertinent. One's called Hang the DJ, where it's basically, and then the other one is I think Eulogy. It's from the new season. The Eulogy one is really trippy because you saw that guy who had Gemini or whatever bring a photo to life, like with his mom and a kid, him as a kid, and then how it like fucked him up. That's the exact premise of one of these, that you go into a photo and you can relive it, and that just messes with you. And the other one was basically you upload an AI, someone makes an AI clone of you for a dating app, and then it dates with all the other people, and then it it determines how you're a match or whatnot. We're getting there. It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And then now I think we got we're at the last part of this now. It's counter Chinese influence and international governance bodies. It's talking about like how China's influencing the UN and the G7, G20, whatever, and how like the US shouldn't go along with that. But my counter to this was China's doing releasing the open source models.
Right, exactly. None of the labs here have open. None of the labs here have open source models. Actually, that's not true.
Except like
Google has one. Google does actually have a really good
Google
open
and
source
Facebook.
model. It's
That's it.
based. Yeah, Google has Gemma, which is based off Gemini Flash 2.0, which is a pretty serviceable model. And it can run off a single A100, which is one of the. It's expensive, but it's cheaper. You can also run it off a couple Macs, but that would actually be a good video idea or a Substack article idea on how if China influences, G7, G20, and all this other stuff, how they do so. That would be a good topic, actually. Be an interesting one.
Yeah.
What China's soft power is up to.
But also like there's some hypocrisy here where it's like, oh, this is they're saying AI governance that promotes innovation reflect American values. But I feel like China is reflecting American values right now more than America is.
Yeah, with those open source models.
Yeah.
And it's a whole thing, but
So this is kind of funny here. Whatever though.
a little bit.
Strengthen AI compute export control enforcement. I have no issues with this.
Didn't they just lower it? Didn't they just make it easier?
Yeah, so this is like they're talking out of both sides of their mouth here.
Right. What China was doing is, one, they were sneaking, chips back in suitcases. They were sending people abroad, sneaking them back in their suitcases, and then they were also, buying through Singapore. Imports of chips
Yep.
was like sky high.
Yeah.
They were also getting their models to other countries, like other countries' data centers, and hosting them there and training them there. So you're playing cat and mouse, and you guys have declared defeat and left, but also not.
To be honest, I'm cool with them smuggling chips in. I think that's fine that they do that because, well, if I'm the U.S., I'm speaking as the U.S., right? I'm fine with it because it is slowing them down by them having to do that, right?
Yeah.
Even though it slows them down by a couple months, it's still a huge time in AI timelines, right?
It matters, and the Chinese semiconductors, I guess the
that's
best way
the
to put
issue.
it. So the thing is, they're basically the equivalent of a generation behind because they've been limited from the really high tech and really low nanometer grade process manufacturing like fabs.
Yeah, but they're catching up.
They've been limited to those.
They've been
They've
working on it,
pushed last generation
especially.
further than we did, but
Yeah.
they're not as good as the new ones. I think is the best way to put it. They've basically specced out the best of the previous tier tech tree. Like they took that extra bonus tech, they pushed those further, but they're not as good as the new ones, and they don't have access. They've been blocked from having access to those. And
That's fine. The issue I have with this is they're building out their semiconductor manufacturing also.
they are still very much behind.
Companies
like I said,
yes, companies but Huawei is like pushing. Like they're really trying to get it.
They're pushing. They're pushing. They are still behind for now, but they are pushing. But they have a lot of, like I said, with the whole Leica thing before.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard to speed run 100 year, 100, 200 years of lens manufacturing technology. You can kind of do it, but it's really hard.
Yeah.
And those guys are just going to keep getting better.
I think that what the U and this is what they kind of outline here. To be honest, what they should have done is put export controls on the manufacturing inputs, not just the chips themselves. So that's how you break the whole thing.
They already do for the fabs. Their Chinese made fabs or their old outdated fabs. The new ones are blocked. The ones that would let them produce chips on par with Nvidia, like Nvidia's latest stuff, they can't get those. Not only because they only make like 3 a year, but they can't. They're blocked by the EU and the US from actually getting that tech. They're already blocked. So
okay, if you say so, but I feel like last time I checked, they could still try to.
If they have their own silicon
the inputs, yeah.
If they still get their own quartz, like it's just a quartz mine. It's just I believe it's quartz that the silicon comes from. The one in North Carolina that feeds like all the chips and like TSMC and all those other guys, it's just a really pure quartz mine. Like China could have one of those. That's just geology. Like you're not beating that. They did block that. They are blocked from getting the really high, basically the NVIDIA grade fabs, the UV fabs. They can't use those. I think it's EUV or something. EUV is the one that they have or something like that, where it's basically they can't get it as thin and as fine as the current ones are. And honestly, I would not be surprised if they cannot catch up to those. You have to basically invent that whole industry from scratch and speedrun the whole thing, while that being incredibly, again, they make like 2 or 3 of those fabs a year and they're booked out. So China's behind, and they will be behind. They're doing things like for DeepSeek, they rewrote all their kernel level code to get the chips that they have to run faster and better. So they're making optimizations that are good and make things run so much better, but it's because they're so behind, and it gets them closer. It's like if you're playing a video game and you have like, a tier 2, gear and then tier 3 gear. You don't spend the point to go to tier 3 because you can't get there yet. So you spend your point to go to like tier 2 plus. That's where they're at.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree. I'll agree that they're behind, but I don't know. We'll see.
In this case, with the semiconductors, it's a lot to catch up. They very well could, but it's still like it's not.
It's a huge effort.
Like it's a huge effort. It's bigger than trying to catch up to like O3, because it's not a software thing or just how much compute can you get. it's hundreds of thousands of people and out millions of man hours of expertise.
Okay, we'll see.
Anyway,
I think that was it for my highlights.
all right, yeah, it's like the end of the thing.
Yeah, pretty much. The White House.
Yeah, yeah, it's an okay. They miss a lot of stuff here. They say they speak out of both sides of their mouth on a few issues, but
I think
it's
overall
better
it
than them.
seemed okay.
Yeah, it's better than them trying to ban it or clamp it down. I think is the right way to say it. There's a lot of stuff they could do better. There's a lot of stuff that they're hypocritical about, but it's better than them trying to ban it or heavily regulate it right out the in the cradle.
Yeah, I think it lacked imagination. I feel, and
Yes.
it's gonna be obsolete probably within next year. You're gonna be like, "What the hell were you guys writing here?" Uh,
Yes.
yeah, I think that's gonna be the issue. But overall, I think it's fine. But
I think
if I was them, I would stick to broader topics. And I feel like they're speaking generally, but they are staying in like the more. Sometimes they're into the tactical level of the thing. When I'm like, think you guys are too close. As the government, you should be operating more broadly. You should be like, okay, here's how we're gonna get the power generation. Here's how we're gonna get all the data centers. Here's how we're gonna. I think they should have stuck to that level instead of trying to get. They're trying to get too nitty gritty with it. I think.
they're trying to get retraining, though. I'm sure that's a political thing.
Yeah.
Like the retraining, because they have the base is a lot of blue collar people.
Yeah, I
Where
think,
you
and
have
that's
like
just
truck
bullshit
drivers.
they put in there. To be honest, they're not gonna do shit. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
No, whatever they do, it's not going to be helpful, and at least it's on their minds, but they don't know what they're doing, so it's not going to be helpful. But yeah, no. For the most part, it's good. It's all right. I have the omnibus bill that had issues when they're going to run into conflicts with their own omnibus bill, particularly around energy. But the U.S. tends to figure things out.
yeah. I think the U.S. is it's such a robust country that even though maybe you have questionable leadership uh, in certain areas or whatever, that they you can still kind of win in spite of it.
Yeah,
So
and even then, in 3 years we'll have a new admin, and by
I
that
feel
point
like
we'll
3 years
need
is
more.
such a long time, though, bro.
It
In terms
is.
of AI,
It
because bro, look
is.
where we're at within in 2 years. But look where we're at.
I think if they actually do their energy properly, we'll probably get a few more oil plants up. Maybe. I know it's super slow to build all that stuff. We might be lucky
Yeah, all
in the
this stuff
sense
is
that they
slow,
start.
man.
I know. I think we might get lucky in that if they actually do want to try to build more just oil power plants, that carries us into a new admin who's like, fuck this, we're undoing all the tax breaks we're undoing all the taxes on the power plants and all this other stuff. We need as much energy as much as we can get it.
And as
And
fast as we, yeah, yeah,
even
as
though it's
fast as we
bad,
can.
and it'd be better to just let all the brakes off right now. Um, or provide do like a chips act thing for power plants. It's not going to be as bad as
Bro,
not going to be as bad as things we might think.
yeah, I was like, bro, where's the fusion?
It's coming. I actually talked with a Helion employee the other day about their stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, the plan with the new model, the new reactor we're working on is to scale this up and actually make it effective."
Yeah,
Helion's super cool.
like
It's like
where?
a hybrid.
I don't know, bro. I feel like
So to give a fusion update, because I actually do pay attention to this stuff.
yeah,
The Department of Energy does have a fusion reactor that they have been testing and getting really good results. They haven't done continuous yet, but they're getting there. The French one, which is insanely expensive for the most part, is a research reactor, and they're going down it's a stupid expensive route. We have a couple ones. One that I thought was really interesting. It was a startup that basically pulled hydrocarbons out of the air So it basically made oil out of thin air, which I thought was really interesting.
Jesus.
Um, yeah, it's crazy. Because there's hydrocarbons, but Helion is getting close. They already have a contract with Microsoft for like 2028, so they're confident they can get at least one reactor up by then. Um, Helion's getting close. Department of Energy is getting close. I talked with a nuclear physicist or nuclear scientist not too long ago, and she thought the Department of Energy's reactor type was more positive, was going to have more positive results. If I remember right, it's a Z pinch technique versus it's kind of like for Helion, it's like a mix between like a magnetic and hybrid. Basically, Helion spits a bunch of donuts of plasma at each other, and when those donuts hit each other, they fuse and generate the power. Um, um, the Department of Energy with Z pinch, basically what it does is it magnetically pinches the plasma into like fine points, and then puts that and then turns that into fusion that way. She thought they were going to have a better shot long term, but she was optimistic. So it's for fusion. It's all a material science at this point, and it's just refining stuff. We've known exactly how to create fusion for since the 50s. You can go back and read. I have a nuclear textbook, physicist textbook from the 60s or whatever, that is still be used to teach stuff today. It's just you'll read the textbook and it's like, by 1980, we expect 40% of all U.S. power generation to be fusion, and it's 100% a
What?
material science issue. Yeah,
Bro, those guys were so smart back then, bro. I don't know what
insane.
happened. I think U.S. education also fell off a cliff. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, a lot of policy stuff got overlooked. I think stuff got enacted and then it just got overlooked and people stopped realizing what it was because the system is complex and a lot of people are not complex system respecters.
Complex system respecters. True. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of stuff was figured out, and then we just kind of never went through with it. I don't know though, because I remember
Isn't it
being
weird?
a kid and you're reading all these magazines and stuff like that. You're like, oh my god, damn, they got this figured out. They're gonna whatever. And then and then growing up and until man, and there's nothing. And you're like, bro, what's all this shit you guys were working on? What happened?
What's that? I think it's the. I'm gonna carefully not stray into like a Reddit, midwit moment. But there's that. I think it's Terry Pratchett, "Lies We Tell to Children," and it's actually where a lot of people get radicalized. Is when you're a kid, you get told this simple explanation for something, how something happened, because that's all your brain can understand. Like, oh, we've got all this figured out, right? Or here's what happened with this historical event. And then when you're a teenager, you start getting into high school and they start banning that concept, like, oh, this also happened and this was bad and this also happened. And then you're a teenager and you're already trying to figure out the world. And then you go, well, I'm just, I was told a lie as a child, so I'm going to go. It's where you get people who go off the deep end, right? Into like conspiracies or just, extremist politics because you were told a lie as a child because that's what you could understand. And then you didn't know how to handle that.
Yeah, but most of what I was speaking of was like when you used to fly on like let's say American Airlines back in the day. They used to have this magazine in the seat called Sky Mall, and there used to be like all these new inventions that were gonna come out and stuff like that, and you just skim through like damn and like damn they already got this. This is crazy. Like they already got these crazy prosthetics. Like if you lose your arm, like you could still play the piano. Like they had all these insane things that you feel like they're just now reinventing today, and you're like, bro, we had this like from way back in the day. Like, what happened? Yeah, they feel like there's a lot.
Could be.
I
It
don't
could
know.
also be that those were extremely optimistic at the time,
Not
and
for
then
yeah,
now
yeah,
they're
probably maybe.
I mean, that's the other option. They were extremely optimistic at the time. Like it's like a here's the future magazine, and they didn't quite work as intended, and somebody had to go back and rebuild it. That happens too.
Yeah, yeah, possible.
I think this is going to be an interesting decade.
Yes, and I don't think we're ready. I don't think this government is ready. I don't think. I think if it goes well, it'll be like we're. I don't know, man. I think what do you think the percentage is on it going well, like going very well, where we get like almost a utopia versus like a cyberpunk high tech low life world.
Oh, that's a question. I'm generally an optimist that we'll try to figure this out. I don't think you're ever going to get a utopia. I think there's always going to be some issues, but do we end up in a cyberpunk, 2077 world? Probably not. I think we're a little better than that, but I think it's not gonna. I think it's gonna be a while before we hit some sort of post-labor economy where things level out. Best thing to do is still stack skills, see if you can, raise some capital here and there and start a business and just sprint for it.
I do think I do think if by default we just continue without doing anything, I think we end up in Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
But I think if we put effort into like actually making the world a better place, I think it is going to be a better place. But I think the whole thing is like if we just lay down and just we're just watching and no you're going to watch and it's going to be a dystopian world. Um
Oh yeah. I'm a little more optimistic for American, American ingenuity and dynamism, but yeah, I'll have some comments more when we're not recording, just because I'm very
yeah,
curious
yeah,
about some
I'm about
stuff.
I'm about to stop right now. This is great though. This is great. Oh fuck.